What's up guys, it's Tony G23 here and we're here today for possible candidates for a futuristic F1 car. Now, I've picked 3 of the most popular of candidates for a futuristic F1 car. We're going to start with this. This one we're familiar with. This is the Red Bull X1. It has featured on my channel before when I drove it around the Nürburgring. I didn't do it very much justice. But this has been a possible candidate. It's like a vision for Formula 1 of the future. And in recent news, we've been going on about how we need to cover the wheels. We need this, we need V6s, we need simpler aero, we need covered tyres, all this. This might just work, okay? The X1 might just work. I like the X1. I think it's actually quite a striking car to look at. It looks very good at speed on the track, but in a few key areas, it kind of lets itself down, because if this car was to race for real, I don't know how much this car would cost, or in the order of millions, I assume. So it's not really beneficial in a cost way. And in a driving way, it's also less beneficial. In fact, it's not beneficial at all. Because the way this car goes about achieving downforce, it's got a very low drag body. But it has a very high, what's the term I'm looking for? Downforce. Let's just say it produces quite a lot of downforce. And the reason why is because it has a fan on the underneath. And that kind of goes against the FIA sanction of movable aero parts. So, I'm not sure. If the FIA were to take off that rule, I'm not sure. These are the sort of cars we would see. I'm not sure if this, but I'm not sure how fast this car would be with a Renault engine, to be honest. But this car, through the S's section here at Suzuka, it'll probably generate about 6 or 7 lateral G through a fast bend. That isn't really beneficial to the human body. I mean, we can do human bodies, if you're really fit, like an F1 driver, you can pull just about 5 Gs. If you're a jet pilot, you can pull about 6, but only if you're wearing like a special flight suit. So if we were to have these sort of cars in F1, we would have to like modify the driver's fireproof overalls. But this car, it kind of also ticks the boxes for safety as well. Because as we've had in the news, we've been going on about possible canopies in F1. This in the wake of like the Jules Bianchi incident and the Justin Wilson accident. So this ticks the box for the canopies. And it also has covered wheels, so there's there's virtually no possibility of wheel-to-wheel contact between cars. So the X1 might be able to just be a possible F1 car in the future. The second possible candidate for an F1 car is this. This is the Ferrari F 2017 concept, and this footage was I've borrowed it. I've kindly borrowed it from a friend of mine on the from the F1 community, RyanPlays. I will leave a link to his channel down in the description. But he's very kindly allowed me to use this footage for this video, and we're gonna start with this car. We're gonna start on this car. First thing we're gonna start with is the aero. Now, compared to the other 2 cars we have here, this has very open wheels, okay, and that can play havoc with designers, okay, and it also increases the possibility of touching wheels and sending cars into the air. But then again, this does have fenders on either side of the wheel, so that kind of cuts down on that possibility. But the aero of the car itself seems to be quite complex, and since the introduction of complex aero in F1, it has become quite difficult to follow cars in the slipstream and try to overtake because of the aero. So, for me, to improve this car, I would go back to a much simpler aerodynamic design, so make it easier for cars to follow each other, which could improve and increase the amount of overtakes we see in F1. I'm not saying there's not enough overtaking in F1. I mean this year Max Verstappen proved me wrong. So, but with this car, it seems to be quite slow. We've apparently it was about 130 through the back straight at the Nürburgring, and today's F1 cars are doing about 180 or something. Would do about 180 or something through there. So this is actually a lot slower than a modern day F1 car. But in many ways, it might be safer. It might be safer in some ways, but then again, a lot of fans would cry out and say, "Oh, the cars aren't fast enough." So I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure how this car would work. Don't get me wrong, it looks brilliant, but the complex aero and the lack of speed really kills it for me. So I'm not sure. It looks very good. Don't get me wrong, but its aero and all that does let me down. For the third and final possible candidate, this was released only a few days ago from my favourite constructor in F1. This is the McLaren MP4X. And now and at the first glance, it looks like they've gone down the same path as Red Bull. Covered wheels, covered fairings, covered driver. Very simple aero. And this actually looks just as striking as the Red Bull. I mean, it looks to be incredibly low down. It looks to be quite slim as well. I believe at the start of 2015, McLaren said a size 0 race car. This could pretty much be a size 0 race car. But not much has been released about the car. All I know is I actually looked on the McLaren website, and it did say that the car is powered by a V6 turbo. The energy store is powered by solar cells, and this is something I've not seen before on an F1 car. The back of the car is covered in solar cells, which converts the energy, which converts sunlight into electrical energy. And I'm not sure. The covered cockpit looks to be quite striking as well. You get a good round view. The wheels are covered, as they would be for improved aero, and it looks extremely exquisite. It uses ground effects as well. So does the Red Bull, and I believe the Ferrari also uses ground effects. But this car looks to be just so much better than the other two cars. There you go, a rear view of the car. You can see the ground effects from the diffuser quite easily. But this car, I'm not sure. It's the canopy that gets it for me. It's the same problem the X1 has. If the car rolls over in an instant, it is quite difficult to get at the driver. So, on that basis, I don't think there are aspects from each of these three cars that do work, and several aspects from these cars that don't work. So, I'm not sure. Out of these three possible candidates for an F1 car of the future, which one would you go for? I think I would go for the McLaren. It looks to have quite simple aero, and it's not overly fast, like uncontrollably fast, and it's not too slow that the fans will cry out and say these cars are too slow. But anyway, guys, I thank you. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.